The answer to the first question is actually very simple. After reading to this sutta, what can we learn about how to diminish the effects of bad past karma? Answer is, it is possible to reduce. It is possible to reduce. Yeah. And the principle behind it is, in the answer to the next question, the principle is being developed in body, virtuous behavior, mind and wisdom. The evidence can be found in the sutta itself, where the Buddha said that two people committed an identical trifling bad karma, but one has to go to hell for it, the other one just pays for it in this very life. Correct? And why? Because one is not developed and one is developed in body, virtuous behavior, mind and wisdom. So very simple. Let me go to the whole sutta again to give more details about certain things. So the whole sutta actually talks about it, to paraphrase it in a more direct way. One doesn't experience karma in precisely the same way that one created it. For example, killing a chicken by slashing his throat doesn't mean that one will be killed in that same way. So this is what this first statement says. If you kill a chicken by slashing his throat, then you will experience its result in precisely the same way. So next time somebody will slash your throat, then maybe you also must become a chicken. But the second statement says, when one creates karma that is to be experienced in a particular way, one experiences its result in that way. Remember the previous sutta? I showed you a essay of what the Buddha detailed about the 10 types of bad deeds and 10 types of good deeds, right? So the 10 types of bad deeds are done through unwholesome volition, and they will bring about painful results. So that's the way that the karma is to be experienced. So all unwholesome actions are done with unwholesome volition, and therefore their results are to be experienced in a particular way. And what is a particular way? Painful, unpleasant. Okay, so in the above example, after you kill a chicken by slashing his throat, next time you could be killed in many ways. Not necessarily by slashing, but could be killed by lightning, be killed by an accident, be killed by being shot in the head, many ways, or being executed, caught by ISIS, and then they just cut off a head. So, in any way. Or, instead of being killed, you could only be grievously hurt, or just slightly injured. And all these are the results that are experienced in that particular way. What is that particular way? Unpleasant, painful. But the degree or intensity of pain and pleasantness varies, right? One is very intense and one is only very slight. So this is what we saw in our previous sutta. So this one is any bodily karma, verbal karma, mental karma done because of unwholesome volition, they will have a painful outcome and result. So you can't run away from this. You have to experience it in that way. It doesn't mean that any unwholesome bodily, verbal or mental karma can give pleasant results. What will give pleasant results? Bodily, verbal and mental karma done through wholesome volition. Only these will give a pleasant outcome and result. And again, the intensity varies also. A similar bad past karma can give different results to different people. So that's why here it shows you that the intensity of experiencing the result varies from person to person. It can lead one person to hell, but makes another suffer only in this very life, not in the next. And who is that person who can go to hell? Someone who is undeveloped in body, morality, mind and wisdom, and is therefore limited by his virtues, has a mean character, and dwells in suffering. So the way I look at this passage is that being limited, having a mean character, and dwelling in suffering are consequences of being undeveloped. Because you are undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, therefore you are limited by your virtues, you have a mean character, and you dwell in suffering. Right? So these three are not really separate qualities, they are a consequence of the first four. And who can suffer only in this life? One who is developed in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, and is therefore unlimited by his virtues, has a lofty character, and dwells without measure. Now, looking at these words, lofty character, it is an English translation of the Pali word Mahatta. I'm sure most of you must be more familiar with Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah? What does Mahatma mean? Mahatma means great self. Atma is the Sanskrit for Atta. So Mahatma and Mahatta are the same. It's just interesting that in the whole of the Tipitaka, this is the only place where this word Mahatta is used, which is a bit of a contrast with the usual Buddhist concept of anatta. Right? I suppose this is just an idiomatic expression. It doesn't mean that that person has really an atta. It just shows that he has a great self. In a sense, in English you would say he's selfless. When in English we say one is selfless, it means that this person is very altruistic. It doesn't mean that he has no self, correct? So it's the same. And it dwells without measure, brings to mind the divine abidings, because the divine abidings are also regarded as immeasurable mental states. So it seems that this person who is developed in body, morality, mind, and wisdom can also dwell in any of these measureless mental states. Then the Buddha went on to give 3 similes to illustrate his point. The first is the lump of salt, from which this sutta gets its name. The simile is quite straightforward. If you put a lump of salt in a bowl of water, it will taste salty because the volume of the water is small. But if you put the same lump of salt into the waters of the Ganges, there will be insignificant result, no significant change in the taste because of the immense volume of the water. It signifies that the volume of water in a bowl is like the qualities of someone who is undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, and is therefore limited by his virtues, has a mean character, and dwells in suffering. Whereas the water in the Ganges can be compared to someone who is developed in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, unlimited by his virtues, has a lofty character, and dwells without measure. Now this looks as though he's comparing the quantity of spiritual wealth. The second simile is of the money thief. 2 people steal the same amount of money. One is caught and imprisoned, or executed or punished. The other person goes away scot-free. Why? Because he is wealthy, has a lot of money. And again, the first example signifies the qualities of one who is undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, and the other signifies the opposite, someone who is developed in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. Again, this is another example of the lack of spiritual wealth and being spiritually wealthy. Brother Kao just pointed out to me just now that the word thief or thieving or stealing is really not found in the sutta. If you look at the sutta carefully, it says that on account of 1 kahapana or 10 kahapana or 100 kahapana and so forth, a person is imprisoned for it, whereas the other person gets away scot-free. So what does this mean by on account of that money, however much it may be? Well, it may not necessarily be stealing, because stealing is found in the next simile. So this could extend to other things, maybe cheating, bribery, corruption. Yeah? If you are nobody, you practice corruption, then you'll be caught and imprisoned. If you're a somebody, then you can get away scot-free. The third example is that of a sheep thief. Two people steal sheep. One is caught and punished, and the other goes away scot-free. Why? Because one is poor and wretched, the other one is wealthy and also influential. The first example signifies someone who is undeveloped in body, morality, mind, and wisdom, and the second, someone who is developed in body, morality, mind, and wisdom. So this third simile is almost like the second one, except that here there is an additional element of power and influence. Right? So here it signifies not only spiritual wealth, but also spiritual power. So where can all these fit in? Blessing, offering lights, joss sticks, prayer, amulets, dana, chanting, meditation, sutta study, dhamma talk. Can any of these fit in here? Yeah, maybe some. But how can we know? Because we don't really understand from this sutta what is meant by develop in body, develop in virtuous behavior, develop in mind, develop in wisdom. Although some people have begun to speculate. But in sutta study, we try not to speculate. We try to be objective and specific. What does the sutta say? Or if this sutta doesn't say, what other suttas can give us the clue as to the actual meaning of how these words should be understood. So that's why we have to go on to our next section. Right?